In life, we make mistakes because it's part of human nature. And although we may regret the mistakes we make in life, we still have to live with the consequences of our choices. While some may go through life running from those mistakes and hiding from their past, others accept what they've done and try to do better in the future. It isn't an easy task because the past can weigh heavily on you, but you always have to keep trying. Vinland Saga tells the story of Thorfinn, whose past was full of vengeance and violence. As an adult, Thorfinn tries to find a new meaning to his life and wants to right his wrongs, which leads him to want to colonize Vinland and make his own country free of violence and slaves, ultimately wanting complete peace. At a time where war and fighting are as normal as women being housewives, how can Thorfinn hope to achieve this, you may ask? With the will to want to change, that's how. Because he wanted nothing more than to change himself and change the world for people like him. This is Thorfinn's redemption. Disclaimer, there are spoilers ahead. Also, Vinland Saga is not yet over, and I'll be saying a lot of these names wrong, so bear with me. Thorfinn was born on 996 in Iceland, where his family had fled after Thors had decided to abandon the Jones Vikings. He grew up not knowing about his father's past or his connections to the Jones Vikings. Floki, who was a member of the Jones Vikings and longtime friend of Thor's, came to ask Thors for help in a war, and Thors agreed to help, which led Thorfinn to sneak aboard the ship and follow his father. Askeladd and his crew surrounded Thors and his men and wanted to battle Thors. This was because Floki had secretly hired Askeladd and his band of mercenaries to kill Thors without him knowing about it. Ultimately, Thors fought off Askeladd's crew and beat Askeladd in the duel, but Askeladd was able to apprehend Thorfinn, which led Thors to give up his life so that Thorfinn would be spared. This is what triggered Thorfinn's character change at the beginning of Vinland Saga. After seeing his father die, in a fit of rage, he just declared that he would kill Askeladd and decided to follow him and his band of mercenaries. As Thorfinn gets older, the rage inside of him only grows. He tries to battle Askeladd every chance he gets, but loses. When he's not fighting Askeladd or trying to kill him, he helps Askeladd's band of mercenaries in pillaging villages and killing innocent people. Even though Thorfinn possesses immense strength for someone of his age, it's his hot-headed nature that always gets in the way. He also isn't very empathetic, since he doesn't really pay mind to when Askeladd's men are killing innocent civilians and raping women. He just turns a blind eye to it in disgust. He lives his days fighting and killing just for the chance to finally kill Askeladd. Thorfinn has become a cold-hearted person. Askeladd meets his end at the hand of King Canute after Askeladd killed his father in an attempt to make Prince Canute the king. Witnessing Askeladd's death, Thorfinn became broken and without thinking attacked Prince Canute, which results in Thorfinn becoming enslaved as punishment. A year later, Thorfinn was now a shell of his former self and is constantly haunted by the lives he took in his nightmares, as we can see that all the dead souls continue to track him down to hell, with them not letting him know peace within himself. Thorfinn is working on a farm owned by Kettle, a rich and kind farmer who treats slaves well. He later befriends another slave named Einar, who teaches him how to farm. With Einar's help, along with Snake, the farm's head of security, and Kettle's father, Thorfinn learns to let go of his dark past and is encouraged by dreams of Thors and Askeladd to pursue a life of peace and away from the Vikings' violent lifestyle. As Thorfinn and Einar worked to earn their freedom, Canute had become the king of England and Denmark after poisoning his brother Harold. But Canute is driven mad by being haunted by Swine's ghost, planning to seize Danish farmlands to fund his armies. Canute begins his campaign at Kettle's farm, tricking Kettle's son Thorgil and Olmar into justifying the seizures, with Kettle's men easily defeated by Canute's Jones Vikings. With Kettle injured during the battle and gone mad due to his mistress betraying him to save her former husband, Thorfinn confronts Canute to convince him to spare the farmers. Canute renounces his claim to the farm after seeing the formerly merciless Thorfinn's newfound devotion to peace. With Thorfinn and Einar now freed, they say their goodbyes to Snake and the others before sailing back to Iceland with Leif, an old friend of Thorfinn's father. Thorfinn's ideals have changed and he has grown throughout the 4 years living as a slave. He has been able to reflect on his shameful past and has grown to have pacifist values such like his father, as we can guess. There is one thing he always remembers from his late father, and that's when he told him that he has no enemies. Reunited with his mother and sister, Thorfinn explains his intent to settle Vinland and build a new life of peace. In order to gain the funding for the trip to Vinland, Thorfinn, Leif, an heir, and Leif's adopted son, Thorfinn, or Bug Eyes, plan to travel to Greece and sell narwhal horns there. Thorfinn's crew is later joined by others including Gudrid, a tomboy who wants to travel the world and is running away from her fiancé, Karli, an orphan baby boy, and his pet dog, who are survivors of a Viking raid, and Hild, a skilled hunter who wants revenge on Thorfinn for killing her father during his time in Askeladd's company, but is convinced to spare him long enough to see if Thorfinn has truly changed. Thorfinn's crew then continues their journey through the Baltic Sea while being pursued by Sigurd, Gudrid's fiance, who was determined to bring her back to avenge his honor. Unfortunately, he's captured by some Jones Vikings after attempting to fight them and then put into service under Thorkel. Thorfinn's crew arrive at the trade town of Jelling, and Thorfinn is escorted by Thorkel's men, who take him to meet Thorkel and Floki. It is suggested to Floki that Thorfinn lead the Jones Vikings following the recent death of the Jones Viking chieftain Sigvaldi. Thorfinn refuses and recommences his journey with his crew, but is then pursued by Floki's assassins after Floki realizes who Thorfinn is, fearing retribution for Thor's death. Thorfinn and Hild draw away the assassins around a set of islands while the rest of the crew escape. After using non-lethal combat to protect some villagers from the Jones Vikings, two spies among them take Thorfinn and Hild to meet Captain Vagan, the leader of a rebel camp of Jones Vikings, who seeks to usurp power from Floki before it goes into the hands of Floki's grandson, Baldred. Vagan reveals to Thorfinn that Floki had Thor assassinated and would also have various prominent Jones Vikings killed in order to help Baldred become chieftain. A surprise attack is launched at the camp by Thorkel, and Vagan is assassinated by Garm, a psychotic warrior who's eager to fight to the death. The surviving men of Vagan's camp swear allegiance to Thorkel, who promises revenge against Floki for using Garm as an assassin. Leif, Aner, Gudrid, and Karli are taken hostage by Garm and sent to Jomsburg, leaving Bug Eyes behind to tell Thorfinn where they are. A series of battles erupt between Thorkel and Floki's forces at Jomsburg, including a duel between an unarmed Thorfinn and Garm, which ends in Garm's defeat. Thorkel's army defeats Floki and captures him and his grandson, who is revealed to be Thorfinn's cousin. Baldred is uninterested in power and feels a sense of remorse for his grandfather's evil actions. Thorfinn is temporarily made leader of the Jones Vikings, and with the help from Thorkel, carries out orders from Canute to disband the Jones Vikings and spare Floki and Baldred from execution, despite protests from the warriors. Floki and Baldred are sent into exile. Gudrid admitted her feelings for Thorfinn, talks Thorkel out of a duel that Thorfinn promised him, and they're allowed to leave and continue their journey to Greece. Sigurd returns home without Gudrid, but realizes he never had romantic feelings for her and sets her free. He leaves his father's estate behind to explore the world with his first wife and their servants. 2 years later, Thorfinn's crew return to Iceland with the wealth they acquired from selling the narwhal horns. Thorfinn and Gudrid get married and raise Karli as their son. With the resources promised by Halfdan, Thorfinn begins to assemble a crew to colonize Vinland. After finally getting to Vinland, Thorfinn's dream of building a country filled with peace is getting closer and closer. And though it is not an easy task and many problems are brewing, Thorfinn has made it this far and does not intend to stop. Hild was finally able to forgive Thorfinn, and Thorfinn seems to have finally forgiven himself as well. And even though his past will continue to try and haunt him and continue to try and weigh him down, he'll continue to keep walking forward and continue to change his life and change the lives of others for the better, to finally break free from the barbaric world they live in and change social norms, since in their society during this day and age, war and fighting and all of this violence is normal. Thorfinn's journey is long from over, and he has yet to find true salvation, but when it's all said and done, Thorfinn will know true peace. That is all I have for this video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, click the subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.